Welcome back to Mjrwargasem Gaming, and I am, of course, your host, Mjrwargasem, bringing you my Star Wars Battlefront 2 review. This video is a little late, but this game has been very controversial, and there's a lot to unpack, so let's break it down. Let me start off by saying, first and foremost, the moment-to-moment gameplay like this right here is very fun, very exciting, and very enjoyable. That's why we as gamers buy and play games, to have fun and escape reality, and this really makes me feel like a kid again, brings back those Star Wars sights and sounds. It does really scratch that Star Wars itch, and again, the moment-to-moment gameplay is incredibly fun and rewarding, and I wanted to say that first and foremost up front before we get into some of the bad stuff later on, because even though the gameplay is great and there's a lot of great gems hidden in here, it's buried under some very bad systems, some very controversial systems, and if you haven't been paying attention to what's been going on with Star Wars Battlefront these last 2 weeks since its really early release, it's kind of been steeped in some international controversy. Dutch and I believe Belgium authorities are investigating it for gambling. You know what I mean? A Hawaii senator has come out and pretty much said it is a Star Wars themed casino to trap your children. You know what I mean? And that's a pretty bold statement. Let me say that I myself do not have any children, and it is not my job or the job of EA to police your children and choose what they should and should not be exposed to. With that being said, I also have to agree with a lot of experts that introducing gambling-like properties or gambling tendencies to children while their minds are still developing can be very bad and dangerous. And because you know this is Star Wars, Disney wants to market that shit to the widest possible audience. They want everybody to go see that Last Jedi movie next month. So that's 10, 11, and 12 years old. So they want kids playing this game. I mean, it's Star Wars, for crying out loud. They make it appealing as possible. And on top of that, it's also one of the biggest IPs just in the world. So yeah, there's been a lot going on with Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it's just really been a PR nightmare for EA and Disney. The game launched 2 weeks ago with early access if you pre-ordered, and a moment, literally minutes before midnight of the worldwide release on Friday, EA and Disney pulled the microtransactions because of the PR backlash of just so many people being upset of how they've handled the Star Wars IP. There's talk about Disney pulling the Star Wars license from EA and just straight up saying, no, fuck you, EA, like, you screwed this up. So this story is really still developing and still going on, and I don't want to focus too much on that. I want to talk about the gameplay here. The game is what this is about. In the background, of course, you're seeing kick-ass gameplay like you always get on my channel. But I am a little bit disappointed in this game. I am a huge fan of DICE and their games. You know, obviously I play a lot of Battlefield here on my channel. I'm primarily a Battlefield channel. It's like my favorite game ever. And you know, I really had to try this and give it a try. I'm a big DICE fanboy. I usually believe that they're going to bring the good stuff to the table, and this is a perfect example of where the developer, DICE, wanted to make a fun Star Wars game that people wanted to play, and the publisher, EA, had to stuff their microtransaction business model in there of these goddamn loot boxes. Loot boxes, loot boxes, loot boxes, whether you call them supply crates or supply drops from Call of Duty, or loot box or care packages, or fucking whatever the fucking Overwatch boxes call them, from CSGO to Rainbow Six Siege to Call of Duty to Battlefield to fucking shitty freemium cell phone games. Loot boxes have been the rage of 2017, and by rage I mean the rage and hate of the players, of so many people just realizing these loot boxes are just destructive for games. They make the games very grindy, you know, and EA had to change a lot of the hero costs before the game came out. A lot of the heroes originally cost like 30 or 40, 50, 60,000 to play as Darth Vader and Luke. So you'd go to the store and spend $60 on your game and come home and put it in, and you couldn't even play as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker because you had to grind 60,000 credits, you know, and it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, EA. So there's been a lot of negatives surrounding this game as well, but you shouldn't let that overshadow the good, great gameplay, the moment-to-moment gameplay where you're just having fun and enjoying it, and it's feeling like Star Wars. Like this right here, I'm playing as the officer, and I'm defending the cantina, and I'm just really having a fun time, and you're going to see some great gameplay here. It's just really enjoyable. You know, we'll get to more of the bad stuff in a moment, but you see that guy just jumps out in front of me and takes a headshot because he didn't know I was standing there, and it's just it's fun. Like I said, it feels like Star Wars, and it scratches that Star Wars itch. It's fun to play for a couple hours, and I have been playing it quite a lot. I log in almost every day, not just for the daily crate, but there's also a daily challenge and a reward, and it kind of makes you play different stuff, and I've been really enjoying it. We will get to the negatives a little bit more later, but watch this right here. That scout trooper didn't think I see him. I know where you're going. Bam! Take a punch in the face, son. Melee. Boom. And that's what I'm talking about. The other thing I want to highlight is this right here. The flying. Oh, man. If you're a fan of my content, you've seen some of my content before, you know I like the flying in BF1, so I had to give this a try, and this is incredible. This can be a game into itself. If you have really good 3D spatial awareness and you know what you're doing, you can be incredible in this game mode. This is really fun. I play a match or two of this every day. Look at this right here. I always slow down and turn and get behind them. It is really entertaining. It feels good. Not since the days of N64 Rogue Squadron and Rogue Leader, or TIE Fighter versus X-Wing for you PC guys has there really been a great Star Wars flying experience. You know, there's been a lot of Star Wars games where there'd be a flying level or two, but in terms of a whole flying game, we've really been lacking for a long time. Now, in 2017, I will admit that this Star Wars Battlefront 2 Starfighter Assault game mode that you're seeing right here is the pinnacle of flying. It's really big. It's really great. Like I said, the 3D sense of awareness in space is huge. Now, they do kind of throw in some AI ships to make it seem bigger than what it is. You're going to see me go on a nice little kill streak here now that we're in this TIE Fighter. I started off in the X-Wing in the previous clip, but both ships feel great. They fly great. The controls are good. And again, the sights and the sounds and the explosions, and it just feels like Star Wars with X-Wings and Y-Wings and TIE Bombers and everything like that. But like I said, they do put in a few AI ships here in the Starfighter Assault game mode because it's a smaller player count of 12v12, so it's only 24 players total, and they wanted it to seem like a bigger space battle, so there is some bots, so there's more lasers and more of those Michael Bay style explosions everywhere when ships are blowing up. And I don't think that's a terrible bad thing, because if it was only 12v12, there wouldn't really be enough ships to shoot down. You'd be chasing enemy ships, and it wouldn't really seem like a big, epic, giant space battle like they do in the Star Wars movies. They want to give you that Star Wars feel, and again, they really just nailed it. This Starfighter Assault mode is fun, because let's be honest, you're buying the game, there's only really two major modes if you're a multiplayer guy. There's Starfighter Assault and Galactic Assault. Yes, there's a few other game modes. There's Heroes vs. Villains, where you can play as the heroes. And then there's Blast, which is just a TDM, copy and paste style that exists in every shooter. And then there's Strike, which is 8v8 objective based, but that's just really a watered down version of Galactic Conquest. Galactic Conquest is what everybody wants to play, but this Starfighter Assault is a great standout. Now, of course, multiplayer is not all that there is. There is a lot more. There is the offline arcade mode, which we'll talk about a little bit here. You can kind of fight waves of AI bots and grind it for credits. But all this really did was undermine and expose EA's greed, where there's a cap on it. You can only play the mode for a few rounds, and then they cap the amount of credits you can get, like a freemium cell phone game, and that's because they want you to put money into the boxes. You know, and then the other really negative is the single-player campaign. I am not a big single-player guy. I am a multiplayer guy. My channel is primarily multiplayer-focused. I feel a lot of people who bitched and complained about Star Wars Battlefront 2015, the previous EA's entry into Star Wars Battlefront 2 years ago, not having a single-player campaign, those are people who aren't really great at multiplayer. You know, if you want a single-player campaign, here's an idea. Go watch a movie or go read a book. You know what I mean? Games nowadays have evolved where they really are just a big multiplayer component of almost every single game. And you might not be a big multiplayer guy. There are still great single-player games out there. Last year I played a lot of Witcher 3 and Fallout 4. You know, there are great single-player games out there, and I'm not against single-player, but that's just not for me. And with a company like DICE, their pedigree is multiplayer. Multiplayer is what they do good, it's what they focus on, it's what they really nail. And again, they nailed it here, so that's why for me, from just my opinion, again, this is my YouTube channel, it's just my opinion, take it with a grain of salt, that's all it is. For me, I feel it's a waste of resources for a company like DICE to make a single-player campaign that you can sit down and beat in 4 to 6 hours. It's just a joke. It's really a waste of resources that could have been spent on developing the multiplayer. You know what I mean? A multiplayer only game like Titanfall, I have nothing wrong with that because I like multiplayer. I like fighting other humans. If you're a single player guy, there is a story in there for you. It's not really entertaining, and it literally ends on a cliffhanger so they can continue it in DLC. And that's one of the most disappointing parts. So overall, what I'm going to say about Star Wars Battlefront 2 is if you are a huge Star Wars enthusiast and you have to scratch that Star Wars itch, then maybe you should wait till after the movie comes out, after Christmas, or after next year to find the game cheap, and some of the controversy with the loot boxes dies down, and you see how this all shakes out with EA. There's a lot of people watching this game internationally. A lot of people are talking about it, literally from Forbes to the Wall Street Journal to Merrill Lynch investment bankers. That's how big this Star Wars bullshit got, and that's how bad EA fucked up Star Wars again. So thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out. I hope you've enjoyed the gameplay. If you're new here, please hit that like or subscribe button, as that does always help me out. I will be having more Star Wars Battlefront 2 gameplay on my channel, as well as a return to some Battlefield 1 gameplay soon. But I hope you have a happy holidays, and as always, remember my motto, Mjrwargasem, all over my enemies' faces. I hope you've enjoyed the gameplay.